We need it. Oxygen is why we breathe.
Don't forget to follow Grit Daily News as well as me, your host, Loralyn Mears, everywhere on social media. And how about throwing 4 or 5 stars our way if you're listening to Apple or Spotify? Subscribe to our show. Hey there, everyone. Welcome back to the formerly known as Like a Boss podcast, but now we are deep in the throes of season 3 here on the Grit Files Startup Stories. And with us today, we have Dr. Valeria Kogan, a bioinformaticist who's breaking ground literally in the field of AgTech. And she's going to tell us all about the efforts that she's doing. She's not only part of one company, but 2. She's the CEO and co-founder of Fermata and the co-founder of Smartomica, all the way from Moscow, where she's been classically trained. She's changing things up around the globe. Let's hear it from Valeria. Hey, Valeria.
Hi. Hi.
Why don't you give us a little bit of background about Fermata and Smartomica, and tell our audience about what you do.
Okay, so my background is in applied maths, and I have always been a big fan of maths and physics and science in general. And I've always been fascinated by biology and medicine, but never have been brave enough to become a doctor. But always wanted to be somewhere around like medical stories and helping people and making the world a better place. And I've worked as a scientist for a while and built my academic career, did my PhD in Israel, and worked in different startups doing biotech and medtech, leading AI teams to develop technological products in this area. So the idea of Fermata occurred a while ago, 2.5 years ago, like from the idea that actually the plants also have diseases and challenges and also have health, which I wasn't aware of, and realized from the stories of friends of mine who are in agriculture. And then I realized that technologies I've been developing for monitoring of human health can actually be applied to agriculture. And this is how Fermata started, as an idea to apply computer vision and artificial intelligence to control of the plant health. Even though it sounds pretty straightforward, it took us a while, several pivots, to eventually set up a product that we are marketing right now, which is a system for control of pests and diseases in the greenhouses.
So I'm just going to dive right in there, because a lot of people may not realize the complexity of plants. People think, oh, they're simple. We boil them, we steam them, we put them on our dinner plate. No big deal, right? But they have enormous complexity with respect to large genome sizes. And it's very challenging because plants don't squeak or make a sound when you hurt them. So it's hard to know if they're hurting. And I think people don't really have a full appreciation for the complexity of what you've undertaken. Maybe could you tell them a little bit more about the challenges with respect to trying to set up in this business and to create the technology that you can validate to show that there are significant changes in plant health?
Yeah, sure. This is actually a very interesting industry from several perspectives. First of all, for me as an entrepreneur and as a person who was looking for funding a startup and willing to succeed and do something big, it was very interesting to realize that actually agriculture is one of the less digitalized industries, which on the one hand means that you are dealing with quite conservative people, but on the other hand means that there is a lot of opportunity in this area. And this means that you can actually develop a really innovative product and access the market because there are not that many players on it. This is why we chose agriculture and decided to try to do something good in it. But yeah, this is a very interesting industry also because it's very complicated and very challenging. There is a lot of expertise involved into plant growth and it's not digitalized. So there are these amazing people called agronomists who know how to grow plants. And there is less and less of these highly educated people in the world, and there is lack of these agronomists, because this is something like farming in general, and this is something that people have been done, as a family business. And now the kids of the farmers do not really want to do farming. They want to do like tech and other interesting stuff, which brings more money. And there are less young people in the area, which means that this also creates an opportunity of helping people gain more expertise and more understanding on how to grow plants. And also there is an ecological question around plant growth, because we realized that actually up to 30, 40, 50% of harvest is lost due to diseases. And this is enormous. This means that this is a very, very large source of food waste. And even with the amount of chemicals people are using right now, they still lose that much harvest because of the health condition of the plants, because it's very, very hard to identify diseases when they just occurred, to treat plants well, to generate more harvest. On the other hand, there is this trend which is set by United Nations, which say that we want to have better food, we want to become healthier, which means that less chemicals needs to be applied in the process of plant growth. And this means that farmers they have even larger challenge. So now you already lose a lot of harvest because of diseases. And now United Nations and other organizations tell you that you even need to reduce amount of chemicals used more. And this means that there is a huge demand in the technology which will help farmers to be more accurate and more thoughtful in decisions that they are making with their plants to generate more healthy harvest and more healthy food.
And we all know that the world's not getting any smaller. In fact, there's no space left to cultivate food with the growing population. So that exacerbates all of the challenges that you're experiencing. But I want to roll things back. As one female founder to another, you said something that it's a bit challenging to break through into this industry, particularly with new ideas that are data informed, relatively new, because you are challenging things from a digital perspective and bringing in new combinations of data and presenting them to, like you said, a bit of old school sort of ideas and practices in agronomy. My question really that I'm trying to come around with is, how hard is it to be a female founder, a young female founder in an industry that's pretty much pale and male and has almost no diversity?
It is challenging. And I would say that when you're developing a new product, the thing that you're very much looking for is not even that people will tell you, oh, this is an amazing product, we're going to buy it right now. You understand that this is impossible. But what you really value is some positive feedback, like people say, oh, you're a nice team. We understand what are your capabilities. We have an advice to you. Maybe you would do that, or maybe you would do this, and you have to look at that. And we have problems like that you could help us solve. And when people see you as a really young person with no experience, reputation, with no understanding in the field, also because I'm with the other background, I'm not an agronomist, I'm not a farmer, and they really don't want to talk to you. And this was the saddest thing in the beginning, because we couldn't even understand what we're doing wrong. And the main thing that we were looking for was just feedback. Just tell us, is it correct? Is it incorrect? What direction should we move to? And it took us really a lot of struggle to understand why the initial ideas that we're thinking about robotics, why they are wrong, and what is the right way to apply our knowledge, expertise, and technologies to develop a really valuable product for the farmer. But I would say that the only thing that you can do to break through this skepticism is actually to become better. So you can say a lot of times that it's not fair, and that you're like a good person, that you're really trying to do a good product. But the only thing that you can do is just gain more expertise, build stronger team, and talk to people, and get this knowledge of what is actually needed. So even though it is hard sometimes.
With that said, what have you learned about yourself going through this entrepreneurial journey? And what surprised you? What's thrown you for a big loop? And what has surprised you about yourself that you've had to learn?
Well, I didn't know that the person can suffer that much actually, because at some points it was really painful, and it still is. But this capability just to stand up again after every challenge that you face with your company and just continue doing it and doing it. This is the thing I appreciate in myself. And also the thing that I learned is to really appreciate things, because building a startup is a really large challenge, and you might have different like motivations for that. You might want to become rich, I would say. Yeah, this is something that everybody has in mind when he's starting his own business. He wants to make money, and if your only ambition is actually to have, I don't know, $5 million on your bank account, you will become just crazy, and it's impossible, because this is a too long path towards it. And I think that it's a very important skill which I gained during like these several years, is to understand that I'm not doing it, for example, just for money. I'm doing that because I want to bring people value, and I want to do something good for ecology, I would say. And every time when something good happens, you just pause yourself and appreciate it. Like if client tells us, wow, we managed to prevent harvest loss, this was so cool. And we're just standing with our team and saying, like, guys, we did really good job, and we need to appreciate it. Even though we don't have that many clients at this point, and we're not making that much money at this point, this is really good. Or like we were listed as top AgTech startups in 2021. This doesn't actually give you anything, right? So like this is not a client or like money or a contract, but this means that some people looked at your product and said, guys, you're cool. And also you need to pause and appreciate. And this is the only way you can survive through all of these struggles. So this is, I think, the main skill that I gained through this period of time.
Oh, we are so aligned and going through similar experiences. I get it. We've got to take those moments to pause, celebrate our successes, however small, applaud the efforts of our team and all those who support us, and dig in even deeper, right? Get that tenacity, bring it forward and say, I will keep going because I believe in what I'm doing.
Absolutely, absolutely. And even though your path can be sophisticated, you see that there are really good things happening in it. And I think it's very important also to identify in your team people who like share your values. This doesn't have to be all the values, right? But some people, like our chief data scientist, she's very much into like all this eco stuff. And when something good happens in ecology, we'll like celebrate it together. For someone, it's less important. And for like our product development team, when we come to the client and they say, do you have this kind of feature? And we say, yes, we do have it. They're like, wow, this is cool. And then we sit with our product development team and just discuss how good job did we do that we could predict that they would need it. So I think it's very, very important to share this value and celebrate, as you said.
It's also, I think, a bit of a misconception. Well, not a bit of a misconception. Let's just call it for what it is. When I go into entrepreneurial classes at different colleges and universities and teach or guest lecture, what I am always shocked by is the absolute super confidence to the point of hubris in many of the students, where they say, yep, within 3 years, no problem. My business will be worth 3 to 5 million. I plan to exit. I'm going to start with $100,000 salary. Should be easy. Take me a month or two to raise $1 million. Boom, I'm golden. Rainbows, unicorns, here we come, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm mentoring several startups now where there are even younger entrepreneurs, and I hear that stories, and I'm always like concerned whether I should be realistic in these conversations with them, because maybe they are right. I just don't know. And maybe I will, I don't know, somehow disappoint them saying that this probably will not be that easy story. And I think it's really tough to find this right balance between being realistic and being like, up in the skies, believing in yourself. Because like both it's an issue if you think that this will be a really, really tough path on one hand, but on the other hand, having inadequate expectations is also a bad thing, because this is definitely a way to get huge frustration on the way.
Oh my goodness, we're leading parallel lives, Valeria. It's like, is that me talking or is that Valeria? Ah, sounds familiar. Wild, just wild. Goes to show you that as much as any one of us think our story is completely unique, it's not. There are a lot of parallels. We're not. That's why the value of these podcasts and talking to guests like yourself, everybody can learn from each other because if there's been a mistake out there, one of us has probably already made it.
Yeah, even though it's really hard to learn on mistakes of other people, because our story is like about like all the typical mistakes that startups do. And I'm really happy that we have investors that were ready to pay for us making these mistakes. But now I'm trying to be smarter and listen to people more. And I think the main like skill that a founder should have and a CEO is not to think about your own ego, not to become too much attached to the product that you had in mind, to the vision of the company you had in mind, but really listen to the other people, and even at some point step outside and to make the company feel better, because changing the team into making it better at some point might mean that you are not the best person to take the lead.
And look at the story of Twitter, right? Jack Dorsey founded it. 5 or 6 years later, he was fired from the company he developed. And then 6 or 7 years later, he was brought back as the CEO. And then he chose to step down because he felt that Twitter had outgrown him and his vision.
Yeah.
And it was better for the
Yeah.
company.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Let me ask you a tougher question here. What is your kryptonite? What breaks you down?
Wow, that's a tough question, really. Well, I think that especially maybe it's less like about work, but about like life in general, especially with this COVID time. The things that are really hard for me to handle are some things that like makes you feel that you're out of control, you know? So because like everything is changing that fast, and you actually in this life with all these restrictions and new strains and all the changes that we face daily, they make you feel that you're out of control. And when things like that happen also in the company, that frustrates me a lot. And I understand that I'm totally a control freak, and I'm trying to work with myself. Currently, I'm taking like a meditation case for the people who have fear of the future, because I not really because I understand that this is a problem for me, that I'm like thinking of the bad things that might happen, and I'm living like only thinking about that and not being present. So yeah, for me, this is probably the toughest thing, when I expect something and it should happen and then it doesn't, and I'm just freaked out, like I don't know what to do.
That said, I bet you wouldn't do it any other way. You'd still want to go forward with Fermata. And my question then is, if I gave you an undo button, what one thing in your life would you change?
Maybe if I could say not decision, but like approach, which I chose in the beginning, not being in that, like thinking that I'm very smart. Like this was the wrong decision in the beginning of Fermata. And I think that probably we could save a lot of investment money if we were closer to the customer, and not thinking that we understand what he needs, but talk more to the customer, and probably making the first hire not a CTO, but a chief product officer.
Oh, I love that. That is great advice. So you've given us tremendous insight. How can our audience help you?
Well, if you are interested in working in an amazing company that's going to change the field of the agriculture and developing great technology to help farmers and make the food products better, we are very much open to people of different levels. We're actively always hiring interns. So if you want to try yourself in a startup, we're completely open to that, as well as to any software development and business development people. We really love having good assets in our team. So we're very open to collaborate.
Excellent. Now, last question. This one's easy. If we got a peek into your closet and there was a pair of shoes or boots that best represented your personality, describe that footwear to us and tell us why it represents who you are.
I would say some kind of grunge boots, because I really love grunge boots and dresses. Because I like this balance between female and male vibe in myself. So probably something like that, like grunge boots, which you know that you will wear with the dress.
Oh, fantastic. My goodness. There are so many parallels. I mean, I'm an older version of you, but boy, oh boy, lots of parallels there. I have enjoyed this call so much. Thank you very much, Dr. Valeria Kogan, co-founder of Smartomica and Fermata, changing the game in AgTech. Thank you so much for being a guest on our show today.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It was a great pleasure talking to you.
And how about that fantastic intro by Touch Circle?